Hello and welcome to Our Time. Luke Alleva is a choreographer and he's worked in the West End of London. He's made many films including Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge and played and created many roles in music theatre. Matt Hyde trained at Arts Ed School of Acting in London and then performed all over the UK, and after returning home he's worked extensively with the State Theatre Company here in South Australia, with Adelaide's Fringe, the Feast and Cabaret festivals, and they're both here in Adelaide to direct and choreograph the Broadway musical A Chorus Line for the Adelaide Uni's Conservatorium of Music Theatre graduates. How's that for a mouthful? Now, blokes, don't stuff this interview up.
I'll try not to, Malcolm. I'll try not to. I can't bet on it, but I'll try.
Okay.
He will try.
Okay, let's start with you, because your name is...
Luke Alleva.
I just wanted you to say your surname. Was I close? Was I close?
Very close.
Do you know, the funny thing about interviewing people is trying to get the sound that they want to hear in their surname correct.
Well, you know,
And
I am
I'm
Italian.
really bad at that. I should have said Luke Alleva.
Luke Alleva.
Yeah. Now, dancer. Mm-hmm. What possessed you to start dancing? You're a man. Why would a man ever want to dance?
Well, being Italian, I...
Good with the hand moves.
With the hand movements. When I was 4, I went to a really big Italian wedding, which a lot of Italians are quite big in their weddings. And
not physically, just...
No, just there's a lot of people.
So it's the Greeks that have the big fat wedding.
The big fat Greek wedding.
Well, my nonno, my grandfather, he saw me dancing and said, "Oh, you have to take him to dance class."
How wise.
And then from there, I started at Johnny Young Talent School when I was 4, and then went on throughout Sydney, and then went to Melbourne, and now here I am. Yeah.
And having travelled all over the world.
Yes, yeah, here in London, America, Asia.
Drop a few shows you've been in.
Oh, Hot Shoe Shuffle.
Yes.
Saturday Night Fever. We Will Rock You. Moulin Rouge.
Which I saw.
Funny Girl.
I saw you in London with.
We Will Rock You. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a brilliant show. Did it in London and Australia. And Funny Girl. The Boyfriend. Dusty. Boy from Oz.
That's enough. We'll talk.
Yeah, that's boring, man. It's not boring.
It's
boring.
They go on, don't they?
No,
Those dancers, they just go on and on.
A chorus line? No. No.
Well, of course, that's why we're talking to you, because you're both here for a chorus line here in Adelaide.
Yeah.
What's your background?
I am from the UK, from the north of England, and I went to drama school in London, Arts Ed School of Acting, and I've been in Adelaide for 4 years now, and I'm not regretting a single second of it.
Well, it's sunshine here.
It is, and it's a wine-producing region, which I'm quite liking as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here as well.
Is that why you're here?
Yeah.
Because it's a wine-producing region.
Absolutely.
I've been doing a lot of work with the State Theatre Company,
Yep.
which has been fantastic. And like you said, the Adelaide Fringe and Feast Festival and the Cabaret Festival.
It's good here in Adelaide.
I think it's fantastic.
We won't talk about the people in Melbourne at the moment, but it's good here in Adelaide because they're about to have their Fringe.
They are indeed, yeah.
Yes.
And the city comes alive for it, and it seems that it's like festival after festival after festival.
Here in Adelaide.
And then I start to get quite angry because I'm exhausted.
But it's a good exhaustion.
It's
to
a good
be working,
exhaustion, yeah. But I
isn't
think,
it?
why? Let's space it out throughout the whole year, but this festival after festival, which is amazing.
But each festival is slightly different, really, isn't it? When you think about it, there's sort of they've got the Fringe has got a different feel to the other festivals. Cabaret Festival's quite different.
Yeah, very much.
And the Fringe, of course. Now there's a Fringe to the Cabaret Festival, so it's another festival on another festival.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Why did you take up performing? And because you're directing as well.
I am, yes. I did a school play, I think at the age of 15, it was To Kill a Mockingbird. And I remember, every kind of creative, every child has that moment where they just go, oh, that, I want to do that. Yeah. And it's magical and it's incredible. And then, your parents try to go, oh, you've just got stars in your eyes, it's just a phase. And it's not. You literally have been bitten by something. Yep. And then I just never look back.
I suppose this is probably one of the most important things to say to parents whose kids do have some sort of creative ability and show some desire to perform, it's encouraged them right from the word go and find somewhere for them to learn.
Absolutely. My parents did everything they could to put me off. And I love them, and they're very, very proud now. But they just didn't see a future in it. They didn't think there could be a future in it.
Well, if you don't come from the industry, you don't realise just the breadth of how many jobs there are in real terms.
And there was no one in my family.
Behind the stages, you know, everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there was no one in my family that performed, so we just weren't privy to that world.
Yes. Well, of course, they wrote a musical about just that, really.
Indeed, yes, exactly right.
And that is sort of so true to life as to how difficult it is for a kid to just find the path and find the people to encourage them.
And also there's this, going on to a chorus line, there's a song called At the Ballet, which is very much about children losing themselves, escaping the harsh realities.
Everyone's beautiful
at the ballet.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not just the ballet, for me it's a metaphor about all arts. It's the children that escape the reality and lose themselves in this magical world where they can be anyone and anything.
But the beauty of that is also for their health, because you're always exercising.
Absolutely.
And it can be physically, it can be vocally, it can be your head is full of exploding with wonderful thoughts about what you could do.
And it's self-expression. It's self-expression, like just expressing yourself so fully at such a young age, to me is a beautiful thing, because society and culture is starting to impose limitations on you and behave a certain way, and it's just about self-expression.
And also just to be yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you both, because you're now working on the other side, are you missing being in front of?
No, it's a different skill set for sure.
Yep.
And I think because I've worked with many directors, I'm sure you feel the same. When you've worked with many directors, you know what you like, you know what you don't like, you know, in your opinion, what makes a good director as opposed to a mediocre, as opposed to a bad one, and you try to be the best you can possibly be.
So what sort of director are you?
You'd have to ask the cast, or maybe ask the choreographer.
To be honest, like, Matt is awesome to work with, because straight away...
He's sitting inside.
No, and I'm being honest.
You can't say anything.
No, I'll be honest. I'll be honest, because we were on the same page straight away. We knew exactly, and I even said to Matt, I said, look, as a choreographer, I'm looking at as the text. You have to tell the story first, through movement and through song. It isn't about always the choreography or this. It is the story number one. And straight away, that's what this show is about. And, you know, A Chorus Line was a play. Originally, it was written as a play.
Yes.
Then with the dance added onto it. So you have to tell the story through that movement, through that song. And I think we know exactly, every time we start talking, like, that's right, we're on the same page, and we're straight away. So being creative is nothing better than seeing what you've created and seeing the performers doing what you've asked them to do.
And what you've seen.
And what you've seen, like, yes, I can see, now you're starting to get it, but now try this and try it this way.
So do you, directing it, do you pre-plan everything, or do you wait and see what the actors can give you?
No, I don't. Well, there was such a thing as a rehearsal schedule, which gave me nightmares and kept me up at night, because I've never done a rehearsal schedule in my life. So it is scheduled like that. But in terms, I've got ideas about the character. I've got kind of key elements that I would like to push the direction of the actors. However, I'm always more excited about what they bring.
Yes.
Like, bring their own ideas, bring their own enthusiasm.
I always feel you need to direct the traffic first and then let the actor act.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so fantastic. Even in today's rehearsal, you're just starting to see them join the dots just a little bit and actually just find something new. Or there's a beautiful comedy moment in today's rehearsal that I hadn't even thought of. And this actor has just found it. And it's beautiful to watch.
Because it's such a collaboration between the performers, what you're setting for them and the steps for them to do.
Absolutely.
And you've got to look at what their abilities are.
Yes.
Yes, very much so. I've always described this as the Everest of musical theatre, and I think the term triple threat came from this musical. So there are different levels of ability in the singing and the dancing and the acting, so it's just about joining all of that together and finding that balance.
And really, absolutely.
Because there's the girl who couldn't get the acting in her head at all.
Who couldn't get it? Is that Christine who couldn't sing?
No, that was singing, yeah.
No, but when the acting teacher dies, she feels
nothing.
Oh, yes,
Diana, yes. Which is one of my favourite moments in the whole musical. It's this lovely solo that you think is fun and joyous, and then it's just got this bite, this
little
sting, just in that last line.
Yeah.
It kind of guts you at the end,
Yeah.
which is just stunning, and I love that. And he does that. Michael Bennett does that multiple times, like the musical. He makes you think one thing and then just twists it.
Yes, it's an interesting show for anybody who's interested in becoming part of show business. But it's also an interesting show for an audience to understand what a performer goes through in getting up there. Well, first of all, auditioning to get in, and then, you know, to move on. Well, I'm not auditioning tonight, but we do have to take a short break, and we'll be back in a tick. Welcome back. Our guests are Matt Hyde and Luke.
Alleva.
Thank you. Just so we get the sound right. They're both here in South Australia directing and choreographing the show, A Chorus Line for the Adelaide University. This is a fairly new course because it's only been running for 5
years, I think.
Yep. How valid and important is it to have this sort of course within a university?
Very.
Because most states have got some sort of theatre school. Theatre. I've always had a problem with the term music theatre because I wonder which part of the theatre plays the music. because it's hard to find a terminology for people who are triple threats, as we mentioned before.
Well, it's like when people say, you know, that's a Broadway style. Like, well, Broadway is a place. Broadway's in New York. And then you got, you know, London and West End.
Yes.
So,
and I like that style better, personally.
well, music. You know, music theatre is music. You know, music, you know, dance, acting. It's all together. So, theatre is three. Sometimes you need to be a quadruple threat. You know, you need to know how to, you know, play an instrument as well as act, sing, dance.
Yes.
How to roller skate.
Yes, I can do that too, and ice skate. And that's the thing about performers, because so many things that everybody does, you actually have to learn new skills for because that particular show requires.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's the really exciting thing, but it's what I love about acting anyway. Sometimes taking on a role going, wow, I'm ex-military, I need to learn how to hold myself like a military person. And
how to hold a gun, how to march.
Exactly. I put myself through a military boot camp for the last show. To just, I learned to box for a role before, but that's really exciting stuff. I wasn't very good at it, but it was exciting.
No, as long as you pull it off and look right on the night.
Exactly.
I love the used to be, it was the Osmond brothers in America, and they all played different instruments.
Yeah.
But they could only play that one song on those instruments because they just learnt to play that one thing. Yeah. But they look like very accomplished musicians as a family.
I auditioned once for the role of a boxer, and they said to me at the audition, "Can you box?" I went, "Yeah, sure. How can it be?"
Ride a horse, scuba dive. Yes, I can do all those.
And at the audition, they had this punch bag, and I punched it. But no one told me that the punch bag actually comes back out and whacks me like this. And literally the director goes, "That's all we need to see."
Love it. But that's an actor's job, to act their way into everything, and that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just before we talk a little bit more about the show, just name drop a few of the people you've worked with, because we've been talking some lovely stories.
I had the privilege of performing with Nancy Hayes in Funny Girl. Nancy and I had two, you know, vaudevillian songs together. So she's like my idol. I think she's absolutely brilliant.
Because she can do everything.
She can do everything, and she's the most loveliest lady you'll ever work with. She's beautiful.
I first saw her in, oh God, now I've forgotten the show, Taxi Dancer. Played the role of a taxi dancer.
On the Town?
No. Star of the show.
Musical.
Red hair, tattoo on the arm. Now I'm trying your memory of shows.
Oh,
red hair with a tattoo.
On the arm. A heart tattoo on the arm. Played the role of a taxi dancer.
Sweet Charity.
Thank you.
Yep.
there we go.
Yeah. She was
You
fabulous.
didn't realise this was going to be a game show,
No.
you've scored one so far.
Sweet Charity.
She was amazing. You know, and when those memories stick in your mind for a long time, because it was a long time ago, then those performers really have given you a magic special something.
There was a point, absolutely, there was a point in Funny Girl where we would finish, and she would sit on my knee, and with this big finish at the end, and we come off, and she goes, "Oh, Luke, you killed me," and I'm like, you are absolutely the best person on stage I've ever seen in my life. But she's just so beautiful on stage. But also, you know, Caroline O'Connor, she's being on stage with both of them was just, you know,
they're two
box
fabulous Australian
absolutely.
women. And the sad thing is, I don't feel a lot of the new people coming into the game really understand who these people are and what they've given the world. No, we were talking before about Sir
Ian McKellen?
Exactly. I was going to say Sir McCallum because it sounded a little better.
Yeah, he's fabulous.
You worked with him.
No, my best friend did from drama school, and he filmed for 2 years with Ian in New Zealand, and we flew over to go and visit him, and he'd take us onto the set of The Hobbit, which was like a city. So we met Kate Blanchett and Ian McKellen, and they were just, I always say to young actors, if you want to know how to behave or in a rehearsal room, just watch those absolute legends. Ian McKellen will show you how to behave.
Yes.
Judi Dench will show you how to behave. I did The Normal Heart last year with Mitchell Butel, and you know, he was running a theatre company at the time and playing the lead, but he would show young actors.
Mitchell was on the programme sitting right where you are.
Why do I always follow Mitchell? I always seem to follow Mitchell. And he's so funny.
But what a great man to have as the leader of a theatre company.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
I actually did my first musical with Mitchell.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, on Mandela Mancha, and he was the Merry Barber. He's absolutely fabulous. He's a lovely man.
What an interesting show that is too.
Yes, it is.
some of these shows that the general public now will not get to see are really being recreated as you're doing with drama students, or in this case, music theatre students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about the show. So, the history of the show.
Yes. So it was created by Michael Bennett, and all he did was get a group of dancers together. And I love it, they set the atmosphere really well when they talk about this. It was a snowy evening in New York, it was late at night, all the dancers had come after a show, it was 11:30 or midnight. They bought really cheap wine, nasty red wine, and he just pressed play and just asked, record, and just recorded their stories and asked them questions. And the dancers had no idea what it was going to be. They didn't know if it was going to be a show or theatre or a dance show.
But that's clear because it's so
raw and honest.
Yes, it's
and
so
honest.
and diverse.
And diverse.
100%.
And they don't, the dancers say, we didn't care at the time what it was going to be. If anything, they just wanted to be affiliated with Michael Bennett because he was hot property at the time and super talented. And then he believed that there was a story in that. And so you hear some of the original tapes, almost word for word verbatim, have made it into the show. And then from that, it was a long show. I think the first workshop went for about 12 hours because you've got 17 dancers and they were working their way down every single dancer.
Yeah. And that sort of shows at the very beginning of the show, doesn't it? Because the stage is a lot of people.
Yes, that's right.
They're being culled.
Yes. Yep. And it was, for him, it was an interview process first and foremost. He wanted the right personalities, the right characters. So it was very much an interview process first, and then the skills test came later, the auditions. But it was a very difficult process because songs were being added and then taken away, and then characters being added and taken away, scenes were being added and taken away. I think it was a high level of anxiety for all of the performers in that period because
will I still have a job tomorrow?
You just didn't know. And you didn't know if the solo that you had yesterday was going to be given to somebody else. So they were all, we're not creating those high levels of anxiety in our rehearsal room. We're being
the piece is already there.
But the show, it does have that little bit of anxiety on there, especially in the opening. I hope I get it.
Yes.
So I
really need this job.
I really need this job.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, they were living on the poverty line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was.
Most dancers do. I mean, you must have had times when there was nothing happening.
I've got a family, and I've got a wife and kids I've got to take care of, and trust me, there's points where you're on a good run, and there's points where you're like, wow, I do need this job.
That's when you say to the wife, get out and work.
Oh, she does.
I'll look after the kids.
But especially in London or New York at that time, with it being the city it is, you have to hold down, I have certainly held down 3 or 4 jobs just to pay rent and still be able to go to auditions and still be able to ditch the job if a job comes up. That's tough. That's really hard.
Well, the students you're working with, this is their last year, so
It is,
they're
yes.
about to experience that big time.
And we've had quite a few chats about what the industry is like, and just it's a wonderful industry, but it's not just a job; it's a way of life.
Yep.
And it's whether you want
You've
to
got to
take
love
on,
it.
you've got to actually take on an entire way of life. It's
Yep.
not just a job.
Yeah.
And for me, it's more than a want. If you just want to do it, that's not enough. You have to need to do it.
Yep.
There's lots of things I want
Like
to do.
breathing,
but it's a
like
need.
breathing in and out.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the show actually starts with a pretty sort of empty stage, because the idea
Yes.
of it is that New York stage with the back wall and
Absolutely.
That's
So it's a bare Broadway theatre, and it will look like that when the audience go in. I don't think I'm giving too much away, but when the
I
show
think we know this part already, unless you've come up with a completely different
we've set it
take.
on the moon. Yeah, we have. Yeah. And then when the show opens, it starts suddenly, strongly, and you are in the midst of a audition. You're
And
literally
intense.
in the trenches.
Yeah.
You're not warming up. They've been going for hours,
Yeah.
and it's thick. It is hard. It is sweaty. You're in the thick of it.
Yep. So don't go expecting a show with lots of costumes and scenery flying in and out.
No.
Because the actors create this
They
entire
really do. It's
what's the word I'm looking at? It's an entire universe.
It's a very deceptive musical. Lots of people go, "Oh, it's quite simple. It's just a line of mirrors," but that makes so much more huge demands on the performers, because there was no set pieces. There's no one flying up into the rafters.
There's no hiding.
There's no hiding,
You
yes,
can't hide.
exactly.
You
No.
can't hide.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
exposed physically, mentally, emotionally.
The funny thing is, back in the old days of Hollywood movies, you often saw this so-called rehearsal period or audition period where all this happened, and you know the person that's about to be the star of the show wanders on, and all the showgirls are there doing their thing and pulling up
Oh,
their tights or
Yes,
whatever.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
sort of a bit like that too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for me, I want it to be gritty, real, sweaty, dirty, the whole process, which is what a dance call is. Like you know it better than anyone.
Well, even the opening dance, it was choreographed to not get it perfect 8 shows a week. Because technically you cannot get that 100% 8 shows a week.
Yeah.
So every show, when you're doing, it's never going to be perfect. And one show you will get it really well, and then the next show you won't get that turn.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. Matt and Luke have been our guests, and we've been talking about the show at Chorus Line that they're choreographing and directing here in South Australia. We've got some shots of the kids in rehearsal.
Great.
Sorry, that's a very show business thing to say, kids in rehearsal, isn't it? And here they are.
Oh,
And they're all standing so beautifully still, accepting the choreographers.
I was going to
Yeah,
say, what
what
am I
is that?
doing
I'm
there?
not sure.
What
That's
is
my
that?
question.
It's a great shot.
About to go for running race there.
Oh, look at that.
And that's Daruva in the middle.
Oh, yes.
That's his big
Daruva's
show.
been on the show
That's his big
recently with
number.
his mum from India.
He's smashing it.
They all are. That's a big number. The Montage 4.
So in the show, they're not exactly wearing these as costumes, obviously.
No, they're not.
No, because
So-
they're actually wearing costumes that look like rehearsal clothes.
Rehearsal clothes,
Absolutely,
yes.
yes, they are. Yes, so it's set in 1975, and that's what we're sticking with.
And the big number at the end, there is a big costume reveal.
Yes,
But
yes,
we all know that already too.
yes, we
So we'll
do.
all be waiting for that part.
Oh, you never know.
That costume change will be a rehearsal in itself. That's gonna. No, but it will.
It's
It
very
will.
fast,
It's
isn't
very,
it?
And it's
very
a
fast.
big, yeah,
And
it's quite quick.
it's a fast one. It's a tricky one. That's a rehearsal in itself.
So the show is only on here in Adelaide for a few nights, isn't it?
Absolutely, I think it's four altogether. Yes.
So where can people find out where it's on and buy a ticket?
They can go through the Elder Conservatorium. It's on at the Scott Theatre. They can go through the university, I believe. How do they get tickets?
Google it, I'm sure it'll come up.
Absolutely. No, if you go onto their website, it has all the tickets on there.
We'll put the website up here.
Fantastic.
Look, guys, thank you so much for coming in. It's
Thank you very
really
much.
lovely to talk to you both. Now that you're an Adelaidean,
Absolutely, yes.
is it forever?
Forever, I think.
Fabulous. And are you going home to Melbourne after?
Going back to Melbourne, but then also I will be coming backwards and forwards to Adelaide as well. So I've always got things going on and would love to come back here.
And work with me.
and work. No.
Oh, sorry, we better put the Perspex wall between you.
Never again.
So, guys, good luck with the show.
Thank you very
I
much.
hope it's a huge success, and have absolutely no doubt it won't be, because it won't be. No, it will be a success. It won't be anything but a success.
Well, you'll be coming to see it, won't you?
Where's the ticket?
Oh, we'll sort that later.
No, because I've actually seen the last 2 productions with this group of
Yes.
Yeah,
performers, and
Yeah.
they are our future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
And
they
they're
are.
Agreed.
fantastic.
Agreed.
Fantastic.
So, folks, until next time on Our Time, keep yourself nice till then. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
See you next time.